First, I met Sarah, the charming knockabout ex-royal, open and brutally honest about her failings.
Whispers long buried beneath royal waves have suddenly surged back to the surface, thanks to one explosive revelation from Sarah Ferguson. With a single interview, Fergie dragged forgotten memories from the depths, exposing Meghan's alleged Yacht days connection with Prince Andrew. And just hours later, insiders say Meghan erupted in fury, desperate to shut down a past she hoped would never resurface. But what exactly did Fergie reveal? And why has this revelation sent Meghan into a tailspin that's shaking royal circles once again? Let's uncover the truth. Whispers that stirred the crown. It began as a soft, harmless moment, the kind of calm that often set the tone for a light-hearted interview. Sarah Ferguson, Fergie, was seated comfortably.
I've just returned from an extraordinary encounter with Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York.
Promoting her newest book and reflecting on her journey through mistakes, forgiveness, and rebuilding her life. Everything felt warm and steady, almost nostalgic, until the interviewer casually shifted the conversation toward Meghan Markle and her impact on the modern monarchy. That single mention changed the entire temperature of the room. Witnesses say Fergie's expression tightened so subtly it was easy to miss, unless you were paying close attention. She tilted her head, let out a short breath, and repeated the name slowly. Oh, Meghan. But it wasn't annoyance. It wasn't admiration either. It was something in between, something that suggested memory more than judgment. Then, with the kind of smile that only people who have lived inside the palace walls can master, she added, she's not the first young woman who's been drawn to royal life, and to everything that comes with it. The interviewer gave a nervous laugh. Fergie didn't join. Instead, she leaned in, almost whispering, as if sharing a quiet secret with the world. I remember years ago, there were whispers about a certain yacht summer. You know the type. The glamorous trips where everyone tries to look like they belong, hoping the right eyes notice them. It was light in tone, but heavy in implication. And even before she finished, millions across the internet felt the tremor beneath her words. Then came the line that detonated the piece around Meghan Markle's name. Some of those faces ended up in very unexpected places, including Buckingham Palace. Royal watchers gasped. Hollywood insiders paused mid-email. Social media lit up within seconds. And the shock wasn't just about what Fergie said. It was about what she didn't say. Because those who knew the history recognized the reference immediately. A series of high-profile yacht gatherings in the early 2000s off the coasts of Greece and Monaco. A world of champagne-drenched parties, designer gowns, billionaire hosts, and guests who floated between modeling, acting, and chasing opportunity. Among those guests, according to long-circulated reports, was a young, unknown actress named Meghan Markle, eager, ambitious, and carving her way through Hollywood. And among the rumored attendees was another recognizable figure, Prince Andrew, the Duke of York.
Not quite a three-line whip for attendance these days, but with the whole York family out in force despite Prince Andrew stepping back from official duties.
No one claimed anything inappropriate. No one suggested romance. But in the court of public opinion, proximity alone was enough. Enough to stir old rumors. Enough to reopen the most delicate chapter of Meghan's pre-royal life. A chapter she had spent years trying to outrun. The emotional twist, the one no one expected, came not from Fergie's words, but from what they revealed about her. A woman who had once been the target of whispers herself, now watching another woman relive the same storm. And for a brief, flickering moment, it was unclear whether Fergie was exposing Meghan or quietly warning her. And as the world rushed to dissect every syllable, one truth hovered in the background, like a shadow waiting to move. This story was far from finished. So is Fergie merely revealing Meghan's past, or subtly setting a trap that could ignite a royal scandal like never before? Keep watching. When old shadows ignite new fires. What followed Fergie's carefully measured interview felt less like a reaction and more like an explosion. The moment her comment about that yacht summer drifted into the public sphere, the internet did what it always does. It turned an unfinished hint into a full-blown storm. Within hours, Twitter and TikTok blazed with the hashtag #FergieSaidIt, pulling old photos, half-forgotten blog posts, and long-buried forum threads back into the spotlight. People connected dots that had been sitting quietly for years, and suddenly the past Meghan had worked so hard to place behind her was flashing across millions of screens. Inside Montecito, the mood reportedly flipped from shock to fury. According to a source who spoke to the Mirror, Meghan felt completely blindsided and accused Fergie of jealousy, betrayal, and deliberate cruelty. She insisted she had never socialized with Prince Andrew, that she had no involvement in any early 2000s yacht circles beyond the manufactured gossip, and that these resurfacing stories were rooted in misogyny designed to tear down ambitious women. But anger rarely travels alone. In those close to her, there was fear. Fear that the old narratives she fought to bury were being cracked open again, and fear that once social media sinks its teeth in, no amount of denial can fully put the pieces back together. And right when the world expected Fergie to soften her words, she did the opposite. 24 hours later, leaving Claridge's hotel in London, paparazzi shouted questions at her. One reporter asked directly, "Fergie, what did you mean about Meghan and the yacht summer?" Fergie paused, smiled, that unmistakable, unbothered Fergie smile, and replied, "Oh, darling, I don't tell tales. I just remind people that every fairy tale starts somewhere." It landed like a thunderclap, a line vague enough to distance herself, sharp enough to wound, and polished enough to go viral within minutes. It was the kind of sentence only someone who has survived royal scandal could deliver so effortlessly. A reminder, not an accusation, but one loaded with implication. It pushed Meghan from irritation into full-blown meltdown territory, because once again, someone else was writing the story of her past, and this time, the storyteller knew exactly how to make the world listen. Behind palace walls, the reaction was far less theatrical, but far more concerned. Royal insiders told the Daily Mail that Buckingham Palace was not amused. Fergie may not hold an official royal role anymore, but her voice carries weight, especially when it touches a duchess already walking a thin line with the monarchy. Worse, her comments came at a moment when King Charles was desperately trying to hold the institution together. He had just endured public heckling tied to the lingering shadows of the Epstein scandal, a scandal that had once wrapped its tendrils around Prince Andrew.
Prince Andrew certainly knows how to pick them. He has always had a taste for the high life.
And by extension, anyone mentioned in the same breath as him. One royal aide put it plainly: the palace has no interest in revisiting Meghan Markle's past, but Sarah's remarks couldn't have come at a worse time. The king is focused on unity, and this has reopened wounds that were barely beginning to close. In other words, Fergie didn't just stir the pot, she tipped in gasoline. And what makes her choice even more intriguing is the question that now circles through both royal and media worlds. Why? Why would a woman who has lived through humiliation choose to ignite a scandal around someone else? And deep beneath the noise, beneath the trending hashtags and furious statements, a quieter, more unsettling possibility begins to form. Not about Meghan, not about Andrew, but about the one woman who seemed far too comfortable lighting the match. And what if Fergie's secret move isn't just exposing Meghan, but setting in motion a shock the entire royal world didn't see coming? Stay tuned. The debt that came back to collect. According to palace insiders, the heart of this entire eruption was never really about a yacht, a rumor, or even a careless comment. It was about respect, or in Fergie's case, the deep belief that she never received it from Meghan. People close to the Duchess of York claim that over the years she developed a quiet resentment, built molecule by molecule, until it hardened into something sharper. They point to several moments, but one in particular always resurfaces: Princess Eugenie's wedding.
Glimpse of the second royal wedding in the space of 6 months. This time it's the Queen's granddaughter, Princess Eugenie.
Those who were there still remember the strange shift in energy that day. It was meant to be Eugenie's moment, a moment Fergie had waited decades to witness. A rare celebration where the York family finally stood in the warm center of royal attention instead of its cold outskirts. But then Meghan's pregnancy news slipped out. What should have been a private family announcement was suddenly the only thing the global press cared about. Eugenie's joy was overshadowed in minutes, and Fergie, according to one insider, never forgot the look on her daughter's face. To her, it wasn't an accident. It was classic Meghan, turning someone else's milestone into her own headline. So when the opportunity arrived years later to remind the world that Meghan's past was not the polished fairy tale her team tried to project, Fergie didn't hesitate. In the Windsor world, revenge isn't loud, it waits, and no one holds onto a quiet grudge longer than a royal who's been publicly humiliated. Meanwhile, Hollywood was losing its mind. Meghan's PR team reportedly scrambled into full crisis mode, contacting media outlets, trying to bury resurfacing threads, begging search engines to downrank old stories. But the internet doesn't listen, it doesn't forgive, and it definitely doesn't forget. Archived blogs flickered back to life, old photos reappeared on anonymous accounts, and former industry acquaintances began whispering about who Meghan once mingled with and how she had managed to climb so quickly into certain social circles. But what truly deepened the panic was the mere mention, even indirectly, of Prince Andrew. In the world of public relations, his name is radioactive. One Hollywood publicist put it bluntly, if Fergie is hinting Meghan was anywhere near that crowd, even by coincidence, that's a PR nightmare. You can't shove that genie back in the bottle. By day 2, global headlines were circling like hawks. Fergie's cryptic comment sparks royal panic. Montecito in meltdown. Meghan furious over yacht allegations. Was Meghan's past closer to the royals than anyone realized? Even articles referencing Andrew's past apologies were dragged back into public view. It felt as though every ghost from Meghan's pre-royal life stepped forward at once. And this time, she had no control over the narrative. Fans noticed something unsettling. Meghan's official website went silent. Her lifestyle brand paused. No new posts, no Los Angeles appearances, no paparazzi sightings, just silence. Eerie, calculated, and out of character. Sources close to her claimed she was locked in back-to-back crisis meetings, making frantic calls to her publicist, demanding statements, reaching out to old contacts, even contacting Eugenie despite the uncomfortable tension now hanging between them. But the real twist came next. Fergie's circle wasn't backing down. In fact, they hinted that she had more to say. More memories, more context, more stories that, if shared, could completely reshape who was really pursuing whom in those early days before Meghan met Harry. Not lies, not fabrications, just details Meghan had hoped would stay hidden forever. And if even half of what Fergie's side is hinting at is true, then what's unfolding now is only the beginning. Because for years, Meghan's team fought to bury anything tied to those yacht gatherings, the social circles, the early Hollywood networking that shaped her pre-royal climb. But by breaking the one unspoken royal rule, never expose the past, Fergie may have opened the floodgates. And now, as whispers grow louder and the world starts connecting dots Meghan tried desperately to erase, her worst nightmare isn't just near, it might already be here. And now, could Fergie's revelations finally expose Meghan's carefully hidden past, unleashing a storm she may never control? Stay with us. When the past refuses to stay quiet. It was the kind of collision Meghan Markle feared most, the world she lived in before the crown, suddenly smashing into the carefully built image she crafted after stepping away from it.
Queen had written, confirming that in stepping away from the work of the royal family,
her pre-Duchess life, once tucked behind polished interviews and curated brand messaging, was now dragged back into daylight. And it wasn't tabloids doing the pulling this time. It was Fergie, another Duchess, older, sharper, and armed with decades of royal survival instinct. The woman who once understood humiliation better than anyone had just placed Meghan in the center of the very storm she once weathered herself. The question circling the globe now was simple, but chilling. What will Meghan do next? Because while she had defeated critics, fought tabloids, and challenged palace traditions, she had never gone head-to-head with someone like Sarah Ferguson, someone who knew the terrain of scandal intimately, someone who had been exiled and embraced, mocked and forgiven, torn apart and rebuilt, and who now wielded her hard-won resilience like a quiet weapon. Inside Montecito, the air shifted the moment the story broke. Fergie had mentioned Meghan's old social circles, and instantly the calm California retreat felt less like a sanctuary and more like a shrinking fortress. Staff described the atmosphere as electrified. Meghan wasn't just irritated, she was incandescent. She paced the floors, phone in hand, firing off rapid messages to advisors and friends. Her voice stayed measured, but her eyes betrayed the tension. This wasn't tabloid noise to her. This felt like a knife from someone she thought understood what it meant to be publicly torn apart. After everything I've done for that family, she reportedly whispered in disbelief, anger slowly hardening into resolve. If Meghan learned anything in Hollywood, it was that when someone tries to steal your narrative, you seize the script. And she moved quickly. Her PR team, the same group who helped transform her into a global figure of modern influence, went into full emergency mode. Crisp emails, midnight calls, strategic silence, the kind of machinery that signals something big is being built behind closed doors. Insiders said Meghan was crafting a counter-narrative, a plan to reclaim the spotlight before anyone else. Shaped her story, there were whispers, unconfirmed but persistent, that she'd reached out to a major streaming platform about a project, not a clapback, but a resetting of the stage. A documentary framed not as a defense, but a declaration. A modern duchess standing tall, refusing to be defined by whispers. But while Meghan prepared her comeback, Fergie made it clear she wasn't retreating. In fact, she seemed strangely energized by the attention. When asked about the rising feud, she simply smiled, that old, practiced, knowing smile, and said, "I don't think anyone should fear the truth, do you?" The shockwave was instant. Headlines multiplied. Social feeds erupted with comparisons, rewrites, and replays of old interviews. The Duchess who stayed versus the Duchess who strayed became an overnight theme across tabloids. For Meghan, it felt like watching her public identity being dismantled piece by piece. Then came the blow that felt like a betrayal from the shadows. Old Hollywood photos, private events, yacht scenes, glamorous nights from her early acting days appeared online. Nothing illegal, nothing scandalous. But stripped of context and plastered across millions of screens, they became ammunition. Anonymous accounts spun stories that blurred fact and fiction. Sleuths combed through every frame, creating narratives Meghan thought she buried long ago. Inside Montecito, the tension became suffocating. Harry was livid, not just at the palace, not just at Fergie, but at the endless cycle that seemed determined to swallow them whole. He had fought for her before, defended her through the darkest moments of royal life. But this was different. This wasn't the press twisting a story. This was someone within the extended family reopening a chapter Meghan had every right to move on from. And as the sun set over their California estate, one truth settled heavily between them. This fight was no longer about gossip. It was about legacy, power, and who would tell the story of Meghan Markle's past, her or everyone else. And now, who truly controls Meghan's story? Her own voice or the shadows of those daring to rewrite her past? Stay glued. The storm Meghan never saw coming. The royal world was already trembling after Fergie's explosive hints about Meghan's past, and the shock waves rolled straight toward Montecito like a gathering earthquake. Inside that mansion, the walls felt tighter, the silence heavier, and every headline more personal. Harry watched the family close ranks yet again, but this time the target wasn't the monarchy's favorite outsider. It was his wife, and the attacks were sharper than ever. Meghan, however, refused to disappear into the shadows. If they wanted a public showdown, she was ready to deliver one on her terms. So she stepped back into the spotlight with a calm, controlled elegance. Cameras caught her leaving a private women's leadership luncheon in Los Angeles, smiling as though the world wasn't dissecting her every move. Her outfit was flawless, her posture unshaken, her expression soft but unreadable. But that polished smile carried an undertone, not confidence, but defiance. "Every time they come for me, I come back stronger," she reportedly told a close friend. And those who knew her believed it. Resilience wasn't a pose for Meghan. It was her foundation. Yet beneath that steel, small cracks had begun to form. Fergie, meanwhile, played an entirely different game. Subtle, warm, almost harmless. She glided through talk shows and interviews, dropping carefully crafted anecdotes that sounded nostalgic on the surface, but carried pointed edges underneath. She didn't need to mention Meghan's name. The descriptions were sharp enough for viewers to connect the royal newcomer, eager climber, someone who wanted a crown before earning it. The audience chuckled, the clip went viral, and the conversation shifted suddenly. It wasn't Fergie's comments that trended, it was Meghan's reaction to them. Entertainment programs fed the fire, placing Meghan's stiff smiles next to Fergie's sly ones. Twitter erupted. The hashtag Team Fergie became a moment, a meme, a movement, and in Montecito, the atmosphere changed from outrage to cold, methodical calculation. Meghan's PR circle saw what was happening. The narrative was slipping away from her. She was no longer the wronged woman escaping an institution. She was being reframed, a manipulator, a diva, a duchess who couldn't take criticism. Then, in a move that stunned even people inside her inner circle, Meghan made a decision. She would speak, directly, publicly, and on camera. Not a documentary, not a podcast. Something bigger, something raw. A new project described by insiders as emotional, unfiltered, and deeply personal. A piece meant to reclaim her story and shut down the whispers once and for all. But as Meghan prepared her televised truth, another wave began forming. Quieter, older, and far more dangerous. People connected to Fergie started talking. Former royal aides, old acquaintances, individuals who remembered Meghan's earliest days inside the palace, and their accounts weren't flattering. What began as one duchess defending her name had turned into a multi-sided storm of loyalty, resentment, and old wounds reopening in real time. The twist, the unexpected shift, was that Meghan never realized the battlefield had changed. She thought she was fighting gossip, but what she was really fighting was memory. Other people's memories of who they believed she once was. And memory, especially inside the royal ecosystem, is a weapon that cuts far deeper than headlines. By the time Meghan's Reclaiming Her Truth project entered pre-production, the storm outside her Montecito home had grown into something much bigger and much darker than anyone around her had predicted. The tension wasn't just about scandal anymore. It was about legacy, power, and the terrifying realization that this time, the crown wasn't simply defending itself. It was preparing to strike back. So what do you think? Could this escalating clash between Meghan and Fergie be the breaking point that pushes the royal storm into something far more explosive? We'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.